Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. We'll start from 7:30. Let's wait for a few minutes, then we'll start.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Uh, I have joined the program.
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Uh, is Dr. Jana is there?
Yes, sir. Jana sir is there. Just a minute.
So what is the program actually? Can you tell me?
At first, there will be an inauguration program. Then there will be some speeches for 15 minutes. Then after that, we'll start
Okay.
with the picture. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Are you ready? Are you ready? A very good evening, everyone. Hello
Good
and
evening,
welcome.
ma'am.
Yes. Hello
Good evening.
and
Good evening.
yes. So let me start for today's session. Hello and welcome to this 5 days online workshop and technical quiz on Industrial Process Safety Management PSM 2021 organized by Department of Chemical Engineering, HALDIA Institute of Technology in collaboration with Students Chapter, HALDIA Regional Center, HRC, and Indian Institute of Chemical Engineers, IICHE, where we all are going to welcome esteemed dignitaries from notable industrial and academic domain to talk about their experiences. Process safety management is designed to manage the integrity of operating system and process handling hazardous substance by applying good design principle engineering and operating practices. PSM is essential for managing complex chemical operations as well as simple operations involving hazardous materials. The elements of PSM focus on technology, facilities, and personnel. Key points to note are that all sites must do their due diligence in ensuring their facility is safe to operate. Equipment is maintained properly with proper operating procedures. The objective of carrying out this 5-day workshop is to spread knowledge as well as awareness about several operational process safety. Being an engineer, we need process safety to prevent major disaster involving release of toxic, flammable, or explosive chemicals. Enhancing this knowledge helps us to detect process risk and weakness in compliance with regulations and failure of compliance-based approach to process safety so that we can prevent major losses and environmental damages. Overall, it is everyone's responsibility to help protect our people and environment. By putting system in place to manage process safety, it will help reduce the potential for preventing major disaster. In this 5-day workshop, in first day, we have with ourselves Mr. Shubir Ghosh, who is going to discuss on topic Introduction to Process Safety Management. In the second day, our topic of discussion will be on importance of hazard studies in chemical industries. On the third day, the topic is work permit system in industry. On the fourth day, topic is hazard identification and risk assessment of cement industry. And on the last day, that is on the fifth day, discussion will be on process safety audit. And on the last day, at the end of the session, there will be a quiz session for all the participants, and link will be sent later on. But before starting our session with our invited speaker for our inauguration ceremony, I would request Dr. Professor Sunil Boron Kuila, Head of the Department of Chemical Engineering, HIT, to say some few words for our participants and motivate them. Sir?
Okay, thank you, Aditi. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, sir.
I would welcome everybody, every participants, and today's honorable speaker and my faculty members for organizing this 5-day workshop on the topic Industrial Process Safety Management. So at the beginning, I would appreciate and also would like to thank the team of organizing team, Dr. Jana, Aditi, Tanushree, and they have organized it with a very short notice. Anyway, the topic has been selected focusing particularly the student fraternity who are going to know about the industrial process safety and how it is being applied and how it is being exercised in the industry. Because they all are dreaming to be a good chemical engineer in future. So they should know about the topic because this is one of the vital part in the process, chemical process industry particularly. And part of this topic has been introduced as their syllabus. But the theoretical part, theoretical part is not sufficient in engineering discipline. So they should know about how it is being utilized, how it is being exercised, how it is being applied in the process industry. That is very vital. And that's why some reputed speakers have been invited here so that they can share their knowledge with the participants, particularly with the students. So a clear picture they can visualize. So once again, I would like to thank and welcome everybody for participating in the event. So enjoy the event, enjoy the lectures, and particularly I would also request to students that at the end of lecture you can ask your query. Our honorable speaker will definitely answer you, satisfy with the answer. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your kind words. Next, I would request Dr. Rabindranath Jana, Associate Professor of Department of Chemical Engineering, HIT, as well as convener of this 5 days online workshop and technical quiz on Industrial Process Safety Management, PSM 2021, to kindly say few words about this workshop to our participants.
Good evening, everybody. May I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
You're
yes,
audible.
audible.
So at first, I welcome everybody, every delegates, and our honorable speaker. I would like to thank especially to the speaker, Sri Sudhir Ghosh. Within a short period of notice, I have uh, requested him to deliver his lecture. He agreed with his, in spite of his busy schedule. So I would like to thank first Sri Shubir Kumar Ghosh. He is the retired Joint Chief Inspector of Factories, Chemical, Directorate of Factories, Government of West Bengal. Thank you once again. Next, for this, as I mentioned, say this process safety management is important topic in chemical industries. The BTech student, after say 1 or 2 years, they will be engineer, chemical engineer, to know something about the process in that chemical industry, especially different types of petrochemicals or oil or gas industries. Uh, there are different say hazardous chemicals. They should go for handling. They should know that proper process how to handle with it, and what are the hazards associated with the process. Before going to operate, he should know everything well. So in this topic, actually, the process safety management, they are that it is very necessary for properly manage hazardous chemical mainly, with the goal of creating safe workplaces, preventing unexpected release of toxic, reactive, or flammable liquids or even gases. And for this hazard analysis, there may be the different tools. They should be aware of the different tools such as hazards and operative studies, that is HAZOPs, or say layer of protection analysis, that is LUPA, and failure mode and effect analysis, FMEA. And there are so many other tools by which anybody can analyze the hazards associated of a process. And as per that OSHA, there are 14 elements in this process safety management. I will have to just say a few words about these elements. Mainly, a process safety information means whatever the process is going on in a industry, that engineer should be aware of the basic information. Means what reaction temperature, what pressure, or what concentration of the catalyst is required. So basic information is required. And mostly this requirement is guided by that licensor of any company, and that by the nowadays the DCS operation is there, so everything is automatic control. But again, there is some error if some deviation is there. So how to handle it manually? That proper information is necessary. Next one is a process hazard analysis. There are so many of hazards associated of any process. So at first, they should identify what are the hazards. Hazards means a physical or chemical condition that may lead to the accident. So at first, for any process, we'll discuss in that in due course of time. There is also some technique. I mean, we will discuss in details about the hazard analysis. So in that way, we can learn how to identify the hazards in a process. Then there may be some operation process, how to allow the work, I mean, any maintenance or process operation is if is there, hot work permit or say cold work permit system is also required. Then there is maybe some emergency preparedness if any undue the event has taken place. So how to tackle with this with minimum that the loss, and in that way we can save the plant, save the my people or the environment. Okay. So with this short note, I would like to request all the delegates, all the students to listen carefully about the lectures and try to attend all the lectures so that you can get the participation certificate. After all, as I mentioned, we have already communicated that attendance is compulsory to get the participation certificate. Okay. So my request to all the student delegates to aware of it. Okay. And we have to also participate in the technical quiz at the end of this workshop on the last day, actually on 17th, and that will be online. So MCQ type questions, so you should answer. I think it will not take too much of time, but in order to answer the questions, you should hear all the lectures. So once again, I would like to thank our guest lecturer, guest speaker, and other faculty members, and that also that IICC delegates. Thank you once again. Now over to Radhika.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, I would heartily welcome Honorary Secretary of IICHE, Dr. Abhijit Ghosh, to kindly convey few words to our participants. Abhijit, sir. Abhijit, sir, are you there? Abhijit, sir? Abhijit, sir, are you there?
Okay, I think some due to some emergency or some busy schedule, is not able to join here.
Okay, sir.
Okay, now you skip his session.
Okay.
You continue.
Okay, sir. So, as a co-convener of this program, I would like to thank all the dignitaries and dear participants who have joined this online 5-day workshop. I would also like to acknowledge our chief patron, Dr. Lakshman Chandra Sheth, ex-MP Lok Sabha and Chairman I-Care HIT Haldia, and patrons Mr. Ashish Lahiri, Secretary I-Care Haldia, Mr. Shantan Sheth, Vice Chairman HIT, Mr. Shudipton Sheth, Assistant Secretary I-Care Haldia, Mrs. Sporshita Ponda Sheth, DOG Member HIT, our Departmental Head, Dr. Sunil Borung Pila, Honorable Registered Sir Sri Anjan Mishro, Principal in Charge, Professor A.B. Maiti, and Academic Advisor, Dr. M.N. Bandyopadhyay Sir, for their endless support. A heartfelt gratitude for all of them. Thank you once again to everyone. In this 5-day workshop, we are going to welcome eminent speakers from different industrial as well as academic fields, and they are going to share their valuable experience with all of us. So today we have joining with us Sri Shubir Ghosh, retired Joint Chief Inspector of Factories Chemical, West Bengal. He has completed his Bachelor's of Chemical Engineering from Jadavpur University and settled in Environmental Science from Jadavpur University in the year 1987. From 1967 to 1978, he has worked in different chemical factories manufacturing caustic soda, liquid chlorine, sulfuric acid, superphosphate fertilizer, and rayon. From 1979 to 1987, he has worked as Assistant Director of Industries, Chemical, Government of West Bengal for Development of Industry, Chief Joint Chief Inspector of Factories West Bengal to administer the Factories Act and in particular chemical safety. In between, from 1997 year Environment Officer in Environment Department, Government of West Bengal, on deputation to work with the West Bengal Pollution Control Board. Further, he was sent by Ministry of Labour, Government of India and Labour Department, Government of West Bengal to Germany, Netherlands and England as an ILO delegate. He was also sent by state government to USA under USAID program to gain knowledge of management and disposal of industrial hazardous waste. Myself, Aditi Sinha, Assistant Professor of Department of Chemical Engineering, HIT, on behalf of whole chemical engineering fraternity, would like to extend a very warm welcome to you, sir. It would be really an honor if you kindly shared your valuable experience with us. So, my dear participants, please listen to this learned speaker. And at the end of the session, at the end of this lecture, it will be open for question answer and further discussion. So once again, welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Shubir Ghosh, as you have already known, and I am now 75 years old. So long back, I passed chemical engineering and worked as explained. So I have some knowledge of safety in chemical industry as well as pollution control activities also in various types of industries, including chemical industry. Unfortunately, when we entered in the job, at that time there was no concept of environment control of pollution. At that time in 1967, I am talking about 1967-68. At that time, we used mercury without our nose open to atmosphere, and at that time, of course, safety was there, and particularly mercury was a very precious metal. So theft of we were more concerned about theft of mercury than our pollution control activity in different industries. So at that time, that was the main problem. And then we did not know at that time that Flixboro disaster occurred, Seveso disaster occurred, and we came to know only when Bhopal disaster occurred in 1984. Prior to that, in Factories Act, there was not much talk about chemical safety. After Bhopal disaster in 1984, everything changed throughout the world so far as chemical safety is concerned. All the countries were amended, and all the countries amended their Factories Act. You know, Factories Act is a very old act, and previously it was, though it is said 1948 and amended in 1987, Amendment was done after Bhopal disaster. Amended Factories Act throughout the world. All these Factories Act were amended, and in our country in 1987, new amendment came, and it is now Factories Act means Amended Factories Act 1987. So let me share my experience in this field. As I told, 1974, Flixboro disaster occurred when some cyclohexane for manufacture of nylon came out in the open air, and there was a vapor cloud explosion where in Flixboro disaster 28% were killed by that accident at Flixboro. Flixboro in the Nipro factory manufacturing nylon. So what happened after that? 28% were killed at that incident, and government of UK made an inquiry by court of inquiry for taking legal steps. So secondly, what they did is the milestone in the world, that is they made one advisory committee to look after the look after the such incidents not to occur in future. So that is the milestone of Flixboro disaster was the milestone in the history of chemical safety, where all these things, PSA, PSM, etc., process safety management, everything was taken care of by the advisory committee on major accident hazard. So MAH, that very word, MAH, now we call MAH factories, manufacture major accident hazard factories, where this very word was coined by UK advisory committee on major accident hazard. So at that time, and they made one legislation in this respect known as NIHS, NIHS, Notification of Industrial Installation Handling Hazardous Substances. NIHS regulation was there. First came for prevention, control and management of chemical accidents. Then what happened? What happened actually in 1976? Seveso disaster occurred. Perhaps many of you may be knowing. Seveso had a very highly, extremely toxic dioxin came out, and only the few kg of dioxin came out. And though there was no death, but a vast area populated by inhabitants were affected and evacuated. That entire area, a few square kilometer area, had to be evacuated at that time. So ILO then at that time European Economic Committee. So previously it was the business of only UK government, NIHS regulation. So for the England, for UK only. Then Seveso disaster occurred in just after 2 years, 76. Seveso disaster occurred when a few kg of toxic dioxin was somehow, or it was very much unwanted, but it was with the manufactured quantity of outside. It was also came out as a side product. So due to dioxin, serotonin occurred, and then it became the headache of European Economic Community. At that time, it was European Economic Community. They came in the picture, and they gave directive that in all the European countries, these like regulation must be there. So notification of industrial installation handling hazardous substances, as was done by UK government and the advisory committee on major accident hazard. So then all the countries like Germany, at that time it was West Germany, England, Holland, Belgium, all European community people, they made this legislation of their own. And accordingly, England at that time, they changed their name NIS to what is known as CIMA regulation. CIMA regulation was the UK regulation. CIMA, Control of Industrial Major Accident Hazard. And this MAH word, this word MA word was patented by UK government. So needs to CIMA, and after 74, after 10 years after Bhopal disaster occurred. If we could have at that time 1974 or 1976, if we could have followed this NIS type of regulation or CIMA type of regulation, perhaps Bhopal disaster would not have occurred in our country. So it was most unfortunate that some such incidents occurred. So NIS to CIMA regulation, and then now it is known as COMA. It is now because all the other types of installation, like say LPG godowns, there may be major accident at that godown. So Control of Industrial Major Accident Hazard, CIMA regulation, and now it has become COMA regulation, COMAH, Control of Major Accident Hazard. CIMA, not only in industry, Control of Industrial Major Accident Hazard, instead of that, it is now known as COMA regulation, COMAH, COMA regulation, Control of Major Accident Hazard. So MAH, and there is no difference between major accident hazard and major hazard. So just putting one vowel in between M and H consonant. So there is one word I can pronunciate like WHO, who. Similarly, MH factories, you will have to pronunciate M and H. So instead of that, Ma factories. Ma factories, then control of industrial major accident hazard. And after 10 years of Flixborough disaster, this worst possible disaster, worst disaster in the industrial arena of world factories occurred in Bhopal, when some 2,000 people died on that very night. 1984, second and third. Why it is second oblique third? So as per Factories Act, Factories Act is common to all the countries. So shift starts at 6 o'clock, 6 morning, and next day 6 morning it ends. So 6 to 6. That is, it is also taking the next day of actual date, but it is 6 to 6. So up to 6 morning, it is known as previous day. So as per calendar date, it is 3rd, but as per Factories Act, it is 2nd. So we write, perhaps you have seen 2/3. If you go through Bhopal disaster, you will see 2/3, 2nd and 3rd. So second, it is second date is 2nd as per Factories Act, but actual date is calendar. As per calendar, it is 3rd. That is, it occurred in night.
Hello, sir. Excuse me. Just interrupt you. Are you sharing your slide? It is not visible actually.
No. I am not saying. I'm giving you extempore lecture.
Okay.
So do you need a slide? So then I will have to arrange. Perhaps it is not time. There is no time. So slide is এই বাবাই আমাদেরকে স্লাইড দেখানো যাবে একটা? So I am delivering lectures on these topics. Slide আছে কি কিছু?
Slide তো না দেখানো যাবে
না, not now.
Okay, no problem.
I'm giving you example lecture because it is the first day and I'm just sharing my experience with you, nothing else. So it is not an actual study material. So actually what happened this after Bhopal disaster. So unfortunately, no, even today, as Dr. Jana told, even today there is no any subject. This safety engineering subject has not been considered in the text of chemical engineering. Though at first time it was introduced by Calcutta University Science College. Dr. Raha introduced this long back in 1989, 1990, that all chemical engineers, at that time there was two divisions, BTech and chemical engineering and chemical technology. So chemical technology, this study included one paper on safety. So for your kind information, it was introduced by Science College, Calcutta University, unfortunately not by Yadavpur, not by any other college. So first time Science College, Rajabajar Science College, they introduced this chemical safety as a topic, whole subject. Anyway, so let me share my knowledge with you. So what happened after Bhopal disaster, International Labour Organization, a part of the United Nations, the main body, ILO takes care of the labor related matters, including safety at factories, including all other labor problems, salary, etc., etc. So ILO gives directive in the respect of to all countries, and as far after Bhopal disaster, then ILO came in the picture, and then it gave directive to all countries of the world that SEMA-like regulation must be there for your country to handle, to manufacture, to store hazardous chemicals. So after Bhopal disaster, when ILO came in the picture, then they sent two experts in the field. I had the opportunity at that time. I was also looking after this major accident hazard control in West Bengal. So I had the opportunity to meet both of them. One, Dr. Ellis, he was the Deputy Director General of health and safety executive. Perhaps you have heard the name of health and safety executive. In UK, they are the looking after all the safety aspects of not only chemical safety, other types of safety, including nuclear safety, is also looked after by health and safety executive. For your kind information, in our country, nuclear safety is looked after by Merck. We are looking after the chemical safety only, that is extra nuclear activity. We are not going to nucleus of an atom. So we are that is electron related matter, and the nuclear related matter we are not looking after. For that, BARC is there in our country. BARC is there, Bhabha Atomic Research Center, or they are part. So BARC is looking after the nuclear safety. It is not looked after by any civic authority like Factories Directorate, like Pollution Control Board, like Petroleum Department. So all are related to chemical safety. So our chemical safety is related to extra nuclear matters, that is electron related matter outside the nucleus, and nuclear safety is looked after by BARC in our country. But in health and safety executive, perhaps you have heard the name of health and safety executive. They are looking after everything, including nuclear safety also. Even not only that, they are also looking the safety aspect of stadium at that time. So when I visited England, so I wanted to, during my off days, I wanted to see one football match, but they did not allow me. At that time, I went there as their guest, ILO delegate, like ILO delegate. So they did not allow me to visit a stadium for looking a football match because of the at that time it was fighting was going always in football ground. So but they are looking after everything, railways, railway accidents, stadium accidents, everything is looked after by health and safety executive. And in our country, we are looking after the Factories Act. Directorate is administering the Factories Act, and all types of safety other than nuclear safety, for your country information. So that is there. And so what happened, ILO gave directive that all the countries must follow SEMA regulation, and they must give directive for making such legislation to look after the safety aspect so far as chemicals are concerned. So because huge quantity of hazardous chemicals are now in use and manufactured also. They sent two experts in the field, one in the field of needs regulation, SEMA regulation, and Dr. Ellis made one needs like or SEMA like legislation to India, and another expert in the field, Mr. Lewis, he came here actually and drafted one rule book that is known as what you are nowadays reading, manufacture, storage and import of hazardous chemical rules. It is in the first stage. It was prepared by a foreigner, Mr. Lewis. He came here. And he was posted in DG Fastly. Our main body is the DG Fastly, and Central Labor Institute, CLI. So you should know all these things. Central Labor Institute is looking after all the notification and amendment, etc., of the Factories Act, etc. So manufacture storage and import of hazardous chemical rules. He first prepared, documented. ILO expert Mr. Lewis documented first this set of rules. And it was decided at the one meeting after when he submitted this set of rules to Government of India. After that, there was a meeting in the in Pragati Maidan, Delhi, of all labor secretaries and environment secretaries of all the states, and of course central ministries were also there, Labor Ministry and Ministry of MOEF. At that time it was MOEF, Ministry of Environment and Forest. So they sat together, and fortunately I was also present there as a bearer of files of secretaries, both the secretaries of West Bengal government. So and it was shared by Mr. T.N. Session. At that time he was the principal secretary of Environment Department. So it was decided in the meeting that the set of rules will be notified under Environment Protection Act, but for factories it will be administered by the Factories Directorate. That means, and all safety officer they will administer it, not the Pollution Control Board. So accordingly, nowadays we are administering the manufacture, storage and import of hazardous chemical rules. But first this rule was documented by one foreigner, Mr. Lewis of UK government. So that is the background. So in our country, so SEMA, it is in the form of SEMA regulation or nowadays it is COMA regulation, as it is in UK. Now in our country it is manufacture, storage and import of hazardous chemical rules. So after Bhopal disaster, what happened in our countries also, the Factories Act was amended and a new chapter was introduced in the Factories Act concerning the chemical safety. That first of all, notification of site is important first. Then emergency planning, on-site emergency plan must do the factory hazard of the factory of the hazardous industries, and there is a list in the Schedule 1, the list of industries where this emergency plan, on-site emergency plan is required. But Factories Act did not tell anything about the off-site emergency planning. So ultimately, Environment Protection Act amended, and it included on-site as well as off-site emergency plan. Thing is this, who will do it and how it will be done. There in Environment Protection Act, they have given format, schedule how to prepare on-site emergency plan and how to prepare off-site emergency plan. They point wise, they gave a number of points that this way you prepare your on-site as well as off-site emergency plan. Off-site emergency thing is this, as per manufacture, storage and import of hazardous chemical rules. First is there are 3 schedules in the manufacture that rules. First schedule takes a number of some 700 chemical names are there. and also names of hazardous chemicals like LPG, like liquefied gas, in flammable gas, liquefied toxic gas, like this. So generic name and as well as specific chemical, name of the specific chemical. It is in the first schedule, but it is there is no quantity mentioned. In schedule 2, quantity mentioned for storage of storage of so much quantity. If it is more than that, then that will be considered as a major accident hazard factory. For storage installation, for production of chemicals, schedule 3 is applicable. It is named quantity with quantity mentioned there. For example, for chlorine, if it is more than 10 tons, that factory 10 tons total quantity present in a factory, including production area as well as storage area. If it crosses 10 tons, then that factory will be declared as a major accident hazard factory, MA factory, and notification must be done by the occupier of the factory, and chief inspector of factories notification in the format, it must be sent to the chief inspector of factories, who ultimately who will forward this to the DG Facility, Director General Factory Advice Service and Labor Institute, the wing of Ministry of Labor. It is located in Sion, Bombay. So when I was there, we identified some 80 chemical factories, not only chemical factories, even in that list, name of ambassador car manufacturer, it came into picture because of storage of a huge quantity of petrol and diesel. So chemicals, handling hazardous chemicals, it may be mostly chemical industry, but other than chemical industries are storing and using many such chemicals in huge quantity. So this is there, and what we will have to do first, process safety information, as our earlier speaker rightly told, that process safety information is mandatory. Without knowledge of process safety information, we cannot go further. So process safety information in the form of, it is available in P&I diagram and your this block diagram, and also the safety of chemicals. It is there in the form of what is known as material safety data sheet. So nowadays without material safety data sheet, the factories are not allowed to go for production. So all the chemicals, individual chemical must have material safety individual material safety data sheet, MSDS. Then process hazard analysis, definitely process hazard analysis from the design stage must be there. What is the there in the process hazard analysis? In the process information, process safety information, these are inventories of raw material, important process parameters. Our actually in chemical industries, chemical engineers are handling 3 process parameters, mainly temperature, pressure, and flow rate or levels you can call. So these are the three parameters mainly related to chemical industries. Besides, there are of course viscosity, surface tension, etc., etc. But main parameters are process, temperature, pressure, and levels or flow rate or total quantity. Then important process parameters. Then process flow diagram must be there. Then piping and instrumentation diagram, P and I diagram. Sometimes it is also called process and instrumentation diagram, and piping also piping and instrumentation diagram. Same thing. Then electrical drawings and classification of hazardous areas.
Mute, mute, mute,
Hello,
mute.
hello, hello.
Mute. Please disturb with me. Just a minute, sir. There was some interruption. Have you muted everyone? Tanushri madam, please mute everyone. Except the speaker, please mute everyone. Tanushri madam.
মিউট করেনি, ওই বাকি সব মিউট করেনি। Should I start?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry for the interruption, sir. There was an interruption.
No. It happened like that.
From a different platform. So.
Then electrical drawings and classification of hazardous areas. So classification of hazardous area is very important so far as chemical engineers and chemical industries are concerned. So there must be classification of hazardous areas, electrical classification. The classification, that means zone 0, zone 1, zone 2, and non-hazardous areas. Records of relief system data, equipment data, etc. It must be there. And ventilation system design, built-in safety system, interlocks, detection of or suppression system, safety integrity level, and safety investment systems must be there. Instruments follow one design code. If it is BS British standard, it must be all British standard. If it is Indian standard, it must all throughout Indian standard. Then, and also color coding of pipelines must be there. Then collaboration and maintenance records, calibration and maintenance records, and calculations like flare height,
Just a minute, sir. Interruption, sir. You are not audible.
Hello.
So now,
Hello?
now it is audible. Now it is audible.
Okay, okay. So this is the problem with going online. Anyway, it is also one type of hazard. Okay, ঠিক আছে. So all calculations, flare height, etc., etc. But thing is, this flare must be there. For example, in Bhopal disaster, what I was talking about Bhopal disaster. So many safety devices were kept inoperative. Either it did not work, or they did not know how to use it. For example, in Bhopal disaster, the milk tank was refrigerated, but at the time of occurrence of the accident, there was no refrigeration system and in fact, refrigeration system was under maintenance. So second thing, there was a supposed to be inert gas on the milk. Is a highly flammable as well as and toxic, of course, definitely toxic, much extremely toxic substance, methyl isocyanate, and it is also flammable. So it is kept under pressure by nitrogen. So nitrogen system, it was taken out, nitrogen system. Then another directive from Union Carbide UK, USA was that up to first French height, it is body, the body should be made of stainless steel, including pipe, first up to first flange. So that design figure was not maintained, and all the flange joints were made of MS mild steel. Actually, it happened. So first thing, if refrigeration system would have been there, so what happened in Bhopal disaster, some 500 kg of water went inside the storage tank, and there was a vigorous reaction started due to water. Due to water, back reaction started, and if it would have been stainless steel, nothing would have happened. But because of hydrochloric acid, iron, ferric chloride came in the storage tank, and iron is not at all wanted, and catalytic reaction started. Milk trimer was formed. So after Bhopal disaster, Government of India formed one committee, one-man committee by the at that time National Chemical Laboratory Director Dr. Baroda Rajan. So it is known as Baroda Rajan Committee. They gave a report to Government of India, and our country, difference between our country and their country, that UK, Holland, etc., is that we always suppress everything, but they are notifying everything. So in their country, so everything came in the limelight. Bhopal, but many things of the Bhopal disaster we even do not know. Somehow or other, I had the opportunity to go through the Baroda Rajan Committee report. So we came to know that 500 kg of water went inside somehow or other, maybe during the cleaning of scrubber. So or absorption tower. So safety valve is there, and after safety valve there is one absorption tower filled with caustic soda. So caustic soda milk is soluble in caustic soda. So spray of caustic soda was there, and this actually this somehow or other 500 kg of water came inside while cleaning the pipelines of the caustic soda absorber tower. Then so what? So after caustic scrubber, there is one chimney fitted with flame flare system. If at all any after caustic scrubber, if anything comes out, then it will be there will be a pilot flame. Pilot flame, the function of pilot flame is that 65 days per year. So that is, it is a continuous process, and this pilot flame must glow throughout the year without any stoppage. But it they kept it inoperative. So they thought that why we consume so much LPG, because just to blow the lamp pilot flame, you require LPG. So LPG somehow or other they stopped this LPG pilot flame, and ultimately came out through chimney. Mind that there was a safety release of the milk storage tank, and the entire thing, huge quantity of release was there, and it went through chimney because there was no pilot flame. If any one safety measure would have been there, then Bhopal disaster would not have occurred. So, and there is a complete lack of negligence. You can call it negligence of on the part of the management and the workers of the Union Carbide in Bhopal. Actually, milk came out of the chimney and spreaded outside the factory. Mind that, spreaded outside the factory. Nobody inside the factory was killed. All persons killed, more than 2,000 people were killed on that very night, and all were outside the factory premises. So, and again, nature did not support this. Instead of night, because it occurred in night, if instead of night, if it would have occurred during the daytime, perhaps this so much casualty would not have been there. So what happens? At the time, persons ran helter-skelterly, and they did not know what is coming out. So they ran here and there, and instead of that, if they would have that time in Bhopal, and there was no window, so naturally they were affected. But those who are having windows, good windows, etc., and they could have closed the windows and take rest. So taking rest inside, bed rest in. So at that time, now we say that take bed rest. If there is a toxic release, then take bed rest as far as possible. Why? Because when a person is at bed rest, he requires only 2 to 5 liters per minute of air. When he is walking, he requires some 50 to 60 or even 70 liters of air per minute. So when a person is at bed rest, he is getting only 2 to 5 liter per minute of air with that gas. Say concentration X, so 2x he is getting. When he is walking, he is getting some 25 to 35 x, and when he is running, he is getting some 50 to 60 liters, 50 to 60 x. So much quantity of the toxic gas is inhaled by the person. So when a person is running, his consumption of oxygen is much more than when he is at bed rest. So therefore, nowadays we say that go inside and take bed rest. And meat can be, particularly when some lime is there, or soda ash. Even soda ash will be sufficient. Washing soda, just wet it with towel, and then cover your mouth with it, and take rest at bed. So you will get only 2x, and instead of, so what actually happened, they ran outside their building or outside their home, and ran helter-skelterly and affected at that time. So, and particularly in the night of Bhopal, when the temperature is sub-zero, almost sub-zero, so they inhaled a lot, because in fact, as well, Borodarajan committee, they pointed out that the gas, meat gas crawled, meat gas walked on the ground because of very low temperature, night temperature. So if it would have been daytime, what happened? Daytime ground is hot, and upper layer is cold. So hot air is going is on the upper side. So there is a mixing process when air wind direction is in the towards x direction and xyz. So yz direction, that is vertical and horizontal. So there is a combination of mixing process, and because of hot ground surface, so there is a recirculation and recirculation, so that the gas is diluted. So unfortunately it occurred in night time, so causing many casualties. Then another thing is that wind direction was towards the jhoparis and towards the residential sites. Then so many factors were there which was responsible for Bhopal disaster. If one thing would have been either pilot plane would have been there, so no Bhopal disaster was there, would have occurred. If only the caustic scrubber was there, nothing would have happened. If refrigeration system would have worked properly, it would have not have. Not only that, temperature gauge and pressure gauge, they were seeing that temperature is increasing and increasing slowly, gradually. All of a sudden, this type of disaster does not occur. It takes much time to occur. So they were seeing that temperature every day. They are noting the temperature. They are seeing that temperature is slightly increasing of the temperature of the mixed storage tank. I am talking about temperature of the mixed storage tank. It is increasing and increasing. So they thought that the temperature gauge is faulty. Pressure is also increasing and increasing. They thought that pressure gauge is also faulty. So everything is faulty. They could have easily checked the temperature gauge and pressure gauge by putting one test gauge as it is done in the checking of boiler gauge. Boiler pressure gauge is checked by putting the test gauge online when it is working. So test gauge and then compare it. So they could have easily checked the temperature gauge and pressure gauge by putting test gauge. So they did not do it because they were thinking that it is pressure gauge faulty, temperature gauge is faulty. So height of this negligence was so much. They did not take care of anything, and as a result, Bhopal disaster occurred. This is the background of Bhopal disaster. So, process hazard analysis. Process hazard analysis. What if, by means of checklist? What happens if the steam is filled? What happens if water is filled? What happens if one raw material is filled? So checklist approach. Then most scientific way of identifying the hazard is hazard and operability studies. HAZOPs. We call it HAZOPs. Either you call it HAZOP study or we call it HAZOPs. This is the most scientific approach, and ICI, it was invented by ICI UK. Hazard study, HAZOP, and so not only hazard will be identified, but also operational problems we will come to know. Then failure mode, and effect analysis, FMEA. Sometimes it is also called failure mode, effect, and criticality analysis by means of risk priority number, RPN. It can be extended by means of RPN, by knowing the RPN, risk priority RPN, risk priority number. So failure mode and effect analysis. Then fault-free analysis and event-free analysis. Actually, this is not hazard identification. It is the hazard analysis. So HAZOP and HAZAN, they go side by side, and they are together. It is required to put them together, HAZOP and HAZAN. So fault-free and event-free analysis, it is the hazard analysis study, or you can call it cause and consequence analysis. So there must be some cause of accidents, and what are the development probabilities. So it is the failure probabilities for cause tree, and event-free development of what may happen. It may so happen that the flammable gas is dispersing safely, or the toxic gas is dispersing safely. It may so happen that it is immediately it is burning, or there may be some delayed effect. Then any other techniques as the company thinks the study, they can do it. Then the hazards associated with the process. So wherever may be the method used for cutting PHA, it should be able to address the following the essential aspects: hazards associated, previous occurrence of any catastrophe. So we learn from accident. So kota bajlo ekto acha. How, what is the time limit? Is there any time limit?
Yes, up to 9 p.m. Actually,
It is
5 minutes to go.
okay. 5 minutes. I'll try to close it within. Then operating procedures, safe operating procedure must be there. Then your information required, pre-commissioning stage. Pre-commissioning, I had the opportunity to work with one German engineer while commissioning one stable bleaching powder plant. Then I had the opportunity to work with many experts also. Then mechanical integrity must be so. Please startup safety review is very big required. For example, good housekeeping. Dr. Henike, when I worked with the Ude engineer, he came here in India when I was working in one chemical factory. So he commissioned the stable bleaching powder plant. And first day we found him throwing stones, etc., bricks, etc., from the top of the floor. It was a 5-story building, and from the top floor he is throwing. So we ran there and found that he is saying, I don't want Indian cleanness, I want German cleanness. So that means housekeeping is very bad at that time in India. So here and there everything is scattered in a very scattered was. Some bricks are there, some jute with soaked in oil was there, and everything is lying on the floor. So first of all, he cleaned up the plant. So when he was shouting, Dr. Henike was shouting, I want German cleanness, I don't want Indian cleanness. So housekeeping is very important, and if you can manage your house, if you can make your housekeeping proper, then 50% of the accidents will not occur. So all these things are you must learn. Mechanical integrity, permit to work system, all are in the process safety management. Then management of change. For example, management of change. There is a difference between maintenance and modification. Maintenance means change of things with similar types of material. For example, 2 horsepower motor is replaced by another 2 horsepower motor. If it is 5 horsepower motor, so there is no stock in the storage in the store. So for the 2 days, for the timing, let us start with 5 horsepower motor. It is modification. Stainless steel bolts are replaced by my steel bolt. It is modification. So stainless steel bolt is replaced by stainless steel bolt. It is maintenance. It is very much required to stop hazard and accident. Then other things are also there, and you will learn in your course. I wish you all success, and wish you a very, very bright future. We have crossed, we have passed it, and we expect that you uh, be a good engineer. And what is safety? Chemical safety. Safety against your fire, explosion, essay. That's the all letters are there. SAFETY, SAFETY. So safety against fire, explosion, and toxic release. That is safety, chemical safety. So am I clear? So good night. And here I stop.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your broad experience. Amidst your busy schedule, you have made time for us. It's really a great honor for us, and definitely our participants are going to benefit themselves a lot from today's session. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you.
Now the session is open for question answer. Some
Yes.
of the participants have already raised their hands. So participants can come forward with their individual question one by one.
Okay, you bowl and I will try to bat.
Yes, sir. Yes, definitely.
Say.
Participants, if you have any question, please come forward and ask.
Don't hesitate, because shyness will not do here much your good for this work. If you must come forward, everybody. Yes, anybody? No question. Do you know in Haldia there are two storage tanks of Indian Oil Petronas storing 10,000 tons of propane and 10,000 tons of butane? I used to safety audit all these Indian Oil Petronas this premises during safety audit.
Hello, from the participants. Student, you can ask your question. Don't hesitate.
Some of them have raised their hand. Rudrashish Bishwas. Rudrashish, if you have any question, please ask. Come forward and ask. Do not hesitate.
I think administrator had mute his microphone. It is
Yes.
mute condition. Please unmute first. I think he may talk like that.
Sir, please unmute yourself, sir. You are not audible. Shubir, sir, please unmute yourself. We are unable to hear you.
I'm trying to unmute.
Yes, yes. Sir.
Now
it has been unmuted.
Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Tell me your question. Sorry. What is your question?
Hello, sir.
Ah.
So, what is coma regulation, sir?
What is coma? SEMA, previously it was SEMA regulation, control of industrial major accident hazard. But it is not that hazards are only there in the industrial installation. So, for example, LPG godowns distributing LPG to your household purpose. That storage time, that storage area is also having hazards, definitely chemical hazards. So instead of it is the amended SEMA regulation. Now it is COMA, control of major accident hazard. It is industrial. That word has been dropped. Why? Because not only in industry, but even for example, our LPG domestic cylinders, where it is stored in the storehouse of the dealer. So this hazard is there. Thousands of such cylinders are there. So taking into consideration that aspect, SEMA has been changed to COMA. Nowadays it is known as COMA regulation, control of major accident hazard. The SEMA was control of industrial major accident hazard. Now, as well industry as well as other storage areas also covered now under COMA regulation. Am I clear? SEMA only for industry.
Yes, sir.
Now it is COMA in UK, control of major accident hazard. They have dropped industrial that word because everywhere is hazard is there. Anybody?
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, what can happen if anyone inhale propane?
Propane inhalation, it is not from that point of view, it is not dangerous. But if if it replaces of air, then definitely person will die because of he will not get any. So for our living purpose, minimum 18% oxygen is required. So if it is less than 80% or 19% oxygen, then definitely he may die. So from that point of view, propane is dangerous. But as for example, we are drinking milk. So if milk is injected in our body, then we'll be killed. So application, type of application and type of concentration is very important. So for any toxic substance, not only the toxic substance is released, it is also concentration is very important. So if it is concentration much more, so propane, if there is person may die devoid of oxygen, that is there. Otherwise it is safe. Up to that limit, before that limit, it is safe. So there is no toxicity. As such, only toxicity will be there if a person is having this problem of not getting enough oxygen. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Propane is the third, that is methane, ethane, propane, then butane. So any hydrocarbons are not toxic from that point of view. Only if there is a person is devoid of oxygen, that means if it is not he is not getting enough oxygen, then he may die. Any other?
Sir, if a person inhale propane for a long duration, is there a side effect, sir?
Side effect may
for
be
long
there
duration,
because,
sir.
all hydrocarbons and all organic compounds are this so but from that point of view, it is toxic because if it inhales for a long time, why? All hydrocarbons are or hydrocarbon or all organic compounds are partly toxic from that point of view, not otherwise.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody?
If anybody is still left to ask question, may come forward with their question. Please feel free to communicate. So I think that's all, sir. That was great having you in our platform, and you have shared your knowledge with us, and it's been a great experience for all of us, and hope this will also benefit our participants a lot. So there is a small token of appreciation for you, sir. On behalf of Department of Chemical Engineering, I'd like to facilitate you with a certificate of appreciation. So let me share my screen, sir, just a minute.
Hey, Babai. Babai? আয় স্ক্রিন শেয়ার করতে বলছেন
Sir, I will be sharing the screen, sir.
Okay. Then, because I am not computer savvy.
Yes, it's okay, sir. I understand.
During our time, we are habituated with stride rules.
Yes.
Stride rule and all these things. Lock table.
Yes, definitely, sir. Yes. Yes,
No.
sir. I will be sharing, sir. Just a minute.
Screen share করে দিচ্ছি
Sir, on behalf of this whole chemical engineering fraternity, a small token of appreciation for you, sir. Amidst your busy schedule, you have made time for us, and we are really overwhelmed with your presence. And we are really grateful and thankful to you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
We'll be sharing this in your mail ID also.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Shar. Within the shortest.
Thank you also very much because you have allowed me to speak, to share my experience.
Yes,
and perhaps you might be knowing everything, but accepting background of this SEMA regulation and all these things, and manufacture, storage and import of hazardous chemical rules, that rule has been prepared by a foreigner. At that time, I used to go to Sion, DG Facility, to meet him. And ultimately, we met in England, Health and Safety Executive Office. So no doubt, I have shared all these things to you. So at least background, I have told. That is my experience.
Yes, sir. The time was very short, and within that short span of time, whatever we have listened, it will definitely benefit us a lot. So
thank you.
Yes. So thank you once again, sir. So for all the participants, attendance link is shared in the chat box. Please submit that attendance link. I'm telling for the participants only that please submit those attendance form, and that is very much mandatory to receive your certificate for this online course. So in the next day, that is tomorrow, there is one invited lecturer, and our speaker is Sri Shomiran Shaha, Senior Manager, Imami Agrotech Limited, HALDIA, and he will be discussing on process safety in chemical industries. And second, we have another invited lecture from Sri Shamul Ranjan Maiti. He is from Kolkata, and he will be speaking on importance of hazard studies in chemical industries. So that was all for today, sir. Jana sir, should we end?
Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
Yes.
Thank you once
Thank